Current affairs are India is planning to build underground caverns which are capable of holding 6.5 million tons of oil reserves. This has come as a move to protect India from global unstable oil prices. And this has been first mooted in 2006 as Indian Strategic Petroleum Oil Reserves. So India is planning this to do as to strengthen the rupee, at the same time balancing the oil prices in Indian markets. The Ministry of Women and Child Development has approached Ministry of Law in order to override certain provisions of POCSO, Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences Act. In this regard, Ministry of Women and Child Development wants the age limit to be removed. That is, a person can lodge a complaint for the sexual offences meted out in his childhood at any point in his life. This is a welcome move. Central Vigilance Commission has studied 100 bank frauds, top 100 bank frauds, and has come up with a report that talks about mismanagement in banks and also fixing staff accountability problems. This is seen as a preventive vigilance method to stop banks from further committing frauds, and also how recovery mechanisms are to work has been given in the form of guidelines. These provisions of the report have been put in the website of Central Vigilance Commission. Niti Aayog has come up with a guideline in order to launch public-private partnership in treating non-communicable diseases, as these diseases are contributing a lot to the overall disease burden of the country. So we'll have to see how this fares out. A series of allegations that have been levied against many famous personalities across the media regarding sexual abuse, we have to look into a little bit of the background of what laws are present in India in order to protect women in workplaces. So there is this act called Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace, which has been first formulated in 2013. Prior to this, we'll have to know a little background about this law. In 1992, for the first time, there's been an incident in Rajasthan where a Dalit woman called Banwari Devi has been gang raped by 7 men. She's been working with the state government's rural development program, where she was intending to curb the child marriages that were very much prevalent in the then Rajasthan state. So against this, women groups and NGOs and women lawyers associations have joined together, and under the banner of Vishaka, they have lodged a petition with the Supreme Court in 1997. Supreme Court has in reply to these petitions has given guidelines for, under the Supreme Court guidelines, either direct or implied sexual behavior is not acceptable. There are 5 guidelines that Supreme Court has given in this regard. Physical advances or a demand or request for sexual favors, sexually centered remarks, showing pornography, or unwelcome physical and verbal or non-verbal conduct, and intimidating a woman in her workspace comes under these guidelines. So the key provisions of POSH Act are, the Prevention of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act are, the woman who is aggrieved might not necessarily be an employee. So she might be a client or customer of a particular organization. She can claim protection under POSH Act. Public bodies or private organizations and NGOs, hospitals, businesses, or for that matter, any organization that has more than 10 employees need to follow or abide by POSH Act. It requires employers to set up an internal complaints committee to deal with the complaints regarding sexual harassment. So this internal complaints committee is usually put for the businesses which are having 10 or more women employees. Presiding officer has to be a woman employed at senior level in the committee. So not less than 2 members should be from the employees, and external members can be from NGOs or associations committed to the cause of employees. Now, more than 50% of internal complaints committee should be women. And then there is a 3-year age limit, 3-year term limit to the members who are part of ICC. And there is also local complaints committee which has to be constituted in order to deal with district level and unorganized sectors. And the complaints from establishments where ICC is not present need to be dealt with LCC, which is Local Complaints Committee. When complaint is against the employer, a woman can directly approach Local Complaints Committee. And the constitution of Local Complaints Committee is usually a chairperson who is an eminent woman who has worked for the cause of women for so long, and she is committed towards the cause of women. And local members constitute working block at taluk level, tehsil level and district level. And NGO members are also constituted. They have to have background in law, or they have to be SC and ST. They have to be coming from the community of SCs and STs. So the complaint should be registered within 3 months of the abuse after the abuse has been done. The complaint must be registered within 3 months with the Internal Complaints Committee or the Local Complaints Committee. United Arab Emirates is showing interest in buying Tejas light combat aircrafts from India. This becomes extremely important because Tejas is completely indigenously developed light combat aircraft that has been made by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. So not only UAE but several other countries like Sri Lanka and Singapore and Egypt are showing interest in buying the light combat aircraft. They are also planning on capacity building in desert combating. And coming to the next current affair, how dollar's monopoly has strong stranglehold on global economy has been beautifully explained in an Economics Time article that I am going to discuss now. And India and other developing countries which are facing the currency crisis, that is stooping down of rupee or stooping down of yuan, can be countered by paying for the exports partially in the domestic currencies. So this idea has been mooted in this article, and according to CARTSA, America is threatening countries that are going to do any trade with Iran that they are going to be thrown out of dollar market. Amidst of this global trade tensions, it is better that all developing countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa shall form a group and counter this by forming 50%, at least 50% of their export or trade can be conducted in domestic currencies. This is one idea which is mooted in this article. And UP cabinet has approved the name Prayagraj for Allahabad. This has come as no surprise given the government's track record there. And sound వస్తుందా చూడండి. Coming to the today's newspaper, entry of women into Sabarimala temple. This recent judgment may hurt many religious sentiments. As you can see, people being prevented from entering Sabarimala temple. As you can see, recently people are being prevented from entering, the young women are being prevented from entering the Sabarimala temple. If we can remember, there was an age-old practice called Sati Sahagamana, and widow remarriages were not accepted, and child marriages were so much rampant. And when these were abolished, when the Sati Sahagamana Act was abolished, there were many life threats sent to Raja Ram Mohan Roy and William Bentinck and many officials. But eventually people accepted the change. And that is the same case in widow remarriages as well. Many Hindu bigots did not accept widow remarriages before, but now there are many widow remarriages happening in our country.
And and also child marriages. Child marriages are prevented now, but in the previous past, child marriages were very much in rampant. So I'd like to say change is difficult to accept, but if we accept the change now, the future generations will suffer less. And the next important news is the former the president of Sri Lanka, Maithripali Sirisena, alleges that Rao is planning to assassinate him, and he also reported to the Indian government, and Indian government says it's looking into the issue, but he is dissatisfied with the actions which are done by the government of India. And next important news is it's about road accidents. So the important news is that India is likely to have a uniform code, road safety code by the end of this financial year. The consultation process has also been done. India has a sharp rise in the vehicles. Many people in India are likely to buy more vehicles coming days, and it is not actually preventing the road accidents. The road accidents are also increasing day by day. And why this code is needed? What is the need of this code? This code standardizes many facets of road safety, with states duty bound to implement it. So the thing is, states will bound to implement their road safety rules if this code is made. And this code can be made many few days before, but why is it being made now? Because of the growing road accidents rate in our country. As we can see, the recent report released, Hindu has also been published an article, pedestrians, two-wheelers, cyclists are most prone to these road accidents. And you can also see there has been a very critical accident for every 1 minute, and also 16 people are dying for every 1 hour in our Indian roads, on our Indian roads. And the next, coming to the editorial today is about slippery slope. It is about India diversifying its energy basket more proactively. As we can see, almost all our industries, almost all our energy is dependent on oil imports. And so there has been many sanctions on Iran and many oil supply Iran by America, which is resulting in increase in oil prices, and many economic crises like Venezuela crisis, Turkey crisis, which result in depreciation of our Indian rupee. And so the article says about India's economic fortunes are linked with these fluctuating price of oil. Gathering of prominent oil ministries in New Delhi. On this Monday, there has been a gathering of prominent oil ministries in New Delhi, and Saudi Arabia and many oil exporting countries have also been present there. Mr. Modi asked oil producing nations to lower the prices, and also demands for partial use of, this is very crucial point, he has demanded for partial use of rupee instead of US dollars. And you can see because of this oil prices increasing, our imports, the current account deficit is resulting for 2.4% of our GDP, and which is likely to go for 3% in the future. The solutions mentioned in this article are that there are two solutions mentioned in this article. One goes marginally cutting of taxes imposed on domestic fuels, which marginally cutting down of taxes imposed on domestic fuels, which is a temporary thing. The permanent solution would be steep cut in central and state taxes, which is really necessary. And the long-term solution for this oil prices increase or oil export over dependency on one type of oil can also be reduced by moving towards a renewable source of energy, which is India is really good in using of renewable source of energy, and there has been many provisions made to increase the production of renewable sources of energy. And of course, political will is also very important to be more diversified in our energy usage. And coming to the main article is about Modi setting up of Defence Planning Committee. The Defence Planning Committee, the author actually criticized about these committees, what is their relevance, And he says, are these committees indicative of a newfound national security consciousness? He also mentions he is actually criticizing about the present government's role in national security and defense strategy. He says the defense strategy these days is being centralized, and the further centralization of national security and defense decision making in Prime Minister's office under National Security Advisor would salvage its national security reputation. And he also criticizes that we have a very deteriorating environment. As you can see, there are many violences happening in Jammu and Kashmir, and ceasefire violations are also rampant these days. And you can see the mechanism, the defense mechanism of our country is mostly depending on China's and Pakistan's defense strategies. As you can see, because it is our defense, it is need for us to defend ourselves. And now you can see, and the author also mentions about absence of defense reforms. He says annually we are spending $50 billion on defense, and this is no way helping our country. On the other hand, we are suffering with hunger problems, and on the other hand, we are spending $50 billion on defense deals every year. Good problems. As you can see, China's growing influence in East and its string of pearls, and it's also building many ports, picking up many military bases and all. And he also criticizes giving such a big role of decision making in national security and defense strategy into the hands of an unelected and retired officials with no parliamentary accountability. And he's also definitely criticizing, and this issue is definitely to look about. And he also says that present national security strategy has no vision. He says there is no political will, and complete centralization will obviously lead to this many of scams. And he says no vision, which means there are no particular documents about arms and arms which are for armies, and there is no particular documents from which agencies are we purchasing from, and this unplanned strategy will disasters. And if we continue this, there's no way to go, and our defense strategy is really important these days, as you can see China's growing influence in India, in many other countries. And the next article is about India has to balance pressures from US, China and Russia. This is an interview about the present day scenario of how India is balancing its relations between India, US, India, China and India, Russia. There's always been a thin line between these conflicts and friendship goals. As you can see, China and US are going through trade wars these days, and you can see countering American adversaries, countering adversaries on America through Sanctions Act, which applies sanctions on Russia, North Korea and Iran. You can see it warns many countries who are doing trade with Iran, who are doing trades with Russia. So the interview we asked about many questions. She has raised many questions like what is the present day relevance of Quad, and what is the stand of India on this matters, never-ending problems in Europe, or never-ending problems between these strong economies. So you can see, even though if CAATSA has been applied stringent rules, India is not following those rules. In May, our External Affairs Minister told that we are not going to abide on the rules of any nation sanctions except for United Nations sanctions. And this is a really good step taken by India. India as a sovereign country will always stay on its stand, and it has nothing to do with CAATSA. We have also signed S-400 deal with Russia, which is a very significant deal and also very important and needed deal for India. and we have also made 2 oil deals with Iran, even though November 4th, the deadline for Katsa is coming up, even though we didn't care. And we have always been maintaining from historically since NAM the strategic autonomy concept. And the interview actually goes about his views of saying India should always traditionally, as it is following, should follow its strategic autonomy. And he's also been questioned about relevance of Quad these days. Of course, you can see the influence of China is growing daily in this Indo-Pacific region and also Indian Ocean, and also in Europe as well. There has been String of Pearls mission, you obviously know about it. And yeah, to counter these actions of China, Quad has been made. And in 2004 or 2005, this Quad has the talks of Quad has been made, and after 2 or 3 years, the relevance has been lost. And now today, present day, the relevance is going up and it's growing, because we should counter the actions of China in our region. And the next important article is about Me Too campaign. You obviously know about Me Too campaign, as Me Too campaign is giving an example how social media can be used to actually solve some problems, to come out, to give some importance to the victims. So it is really happy to see those victims, the sexually assaulted victims, coming out, and it is being a platform. It is really nice to see, to raise of a platform to all those victims and countries looking into these issues. And here the author is telling about men to change in the sense to change to know how to treat women, to change to not only in workplaces but also in every sphere of life. As you see, nurture of a child is really important in his early childhood care. If the nurture was really nice, the child would grow up to be a well-minded and well-behaved man. So the author is stressing about man's behavior towards women. And now the important article is about Istanbul mystery. Istanbul mystery is nothing but Khashoggi case. Jamal Khashoggi, an investigative journalist of Saudi Arabia, and he happened to be missing in the Saudi Arabian embassy in Turkey. And the entire international human rights forum, United Nations, USA, Turkey, has been demanding a strong statement of the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on this issue, because they released a footage saying a group of special team of 20 people came to Saudi Arabian embassy. Turkey believed that they had something to do with his missing, and so this human rights violation has also been there for many years in Saudi Arabia. And the major thing to be noted here is many MNCs are pulling out from Saudi Arabia, which is a really concerning issue for Saudi Arabia, and demands of United Nations, USA and Turkey to release a strong statement. And also there lies a responsibility on the government of Saudi Arabia to respond on this issue and to prove itself innocence. And the next important news is about yesterday's meeting on World Food Day, which was held in Rome. The World Food Day talks about the global hunger, which is a very concerned thing to do these days, because global hunger is really a concerning problem these days. And it released saying that there has been, if 1% of hunger is increasing, there is an increase of 2% of migration in all over the world. So what does this to do with developed countries? Not only developed countries, all the developing nations, everybody on this planet have responsibility, all the countries' responsibilities to deal with global hunger index. to deal with global hunger. And in the recent global hunger index, we all observe India ranks 103, and India should improve itself.